Hello and welcome back to Get Fit Guy. This is Kevin. This week I'm going to talk about socioeconomic factors in sport. I can't say that I have the ability to argue any of these ideas to any kind of conclusion on this subject, but just to point out a few things that I've noticed. Now, if you were listening last week, I talked about how someone I know inadvertently kind of inspired me to go to the gym and do something fun and active. So there is a factor in training or playing sports that is absolutely social. I also talked about CrossFit and how community-driven that was, this being the key to its success. But I also have to say it's really expensive. Now, sport likes to wave the flag for equality, doing things like taking steps to ensure that in running events, all the athletes are running on the same quality of surface. In other sports like soccer, the team's change ends at halftime. And in things like javelin throwing, there are strict rules on the javelin itself to ensure competitive fairness and equality. But I don't see this same kind of thing when it comes to socioeconomic factors. Now, it's one thing for me to tell you that you can train a certain way or that I recommend certain methodologies, certain foods, or certain supplements, but being able to access the things that are recommended is something entirely different. Something that certainly isn't lost on me now that I'm a full-time university student and can no longer afford to eat things like grass-fed meat and organic vegetables. And the same goes for sport. When I came to university, I was super excited about the opportunity to try new sports. And yet I have ended up doing the exact same sports I always have. And why? Well, the answer is money. I don't need to buy any new equipment to do judo, karate, or kickboxing. I was like a kid in the candy shop when I attended the sports fair to see all the different sports that I could do, from clay pigeon shooting to the gliding club and from horse polo to yachting. Now, I looked into horse polo, which I really thought would be fun because I could learn a new skill, and girls with double-barreled surnames could invite me to shooting parties at their family's estate. What's not to love? However, the reality was that for me to continue to practice judo, the cost for the year was less than $100. But the cost of polo, if I attended all 3 training sessions a week, would be over $7,000. No wonder your family needs to own an estate for you to participate. And I've seen this kind of thing also in my own coaching career. When I was working in Hong Kong, it was about $400 for a standard membership at the gym I worked at. That was a decade ago. If you wanted to train one-on-one for an hour with myself or any of the other coaches there, the gym would charge you $100 an hour on top of your $400 a month membership. So it's little wonder that I had 0 local Hong Kong people in my classes, and almost everyone was an investment banker. Now, I also remember when I went to South Africa to teach 2 seminars in 2015, and remembering thinking that I was really quite surprised that I was at gyms in Africa, but they were only members of a certain racial background, and it wasn't the predominant one of the country. But it was the demographic that could afford the gym membership, or that could afford it and wanted to put themselves in that environment. A 2023 study by the British Medical Council found that across 8,000 participants that were studied, 68% of those that were playing sport had a university education. Sport England also published a study in 2019 that stated that those that were unemployed or in low-income jobs were most likely to be inactive, and those in managerial roles were most likely to be active. I myself recall that I was sitting in the corner of a boardroom of a well-known functional fitness brand doing some work on my laptop one day. The chief operations officer was in there on a Zoom call with a potential gym owner who was asking for advice on gym locations. And the advice given was to open where there's a Lululemon and a Whole Foods. So basically, people with money are nearby and you can charge more for your product. Now, how business works isn't alien to me. I do understand the concept of making a profit, but I also understand that as humans, we simply aren't moving enough, and don't eat well enough. So I find it a bit weird when gym owners are out there saying that their mission is to change lives and then charge you $400 a month to run about in an empty warehouse. So I would argue that they do want to change lives, their own, by selling you high-ticket fitness. I'm not really sure what the answer to this is, but I definitely feel the pain of people who want to be more active and healthy and simply can't afford to do so. I'm also aware, although I'm still a poor student, that I'm in the bracket where I can afford to play sport, I can be active, and I can go to the gym. Therefore, I am myself much better off than those who cannot afford to do any of those things, and that is not lost on me at all. But I'm also curious to hear from listeners who do find that socioeconomic conditions have impacted their ability to train and what they've found that they can do works for them. That way I could maybe bring some useful solutions to other listeners. My email address is at the end of the show if you want to get in touch, and it has been a minute since I had any listener emails. Now, just to round off this week, I thought I'd share a fun fact that I just learned myself. Now, I've done an episode in the past on the fact that the gold standard of 10,000 steps a day is a complete myth that was created as part of a marketing campaign for the 1964 Tokyo Olympic Games. And this week, I learned that the idea that breakfast is the most important meal of the day was actually a marketing slogan from 1917 for Good Health magazine that was written by Kellogg's. Now, as a philosopher, I was aware that Thomas Aquinas believed that eating early, specifically before morning mass, was a sin. After all, this was done fasted, and breakfast is literally where one breaks the fast. But I wasn't aware that this modern preoccupation with breakfast came from Kellogg. A shame, because I could literally eat breakfast for every meal of the day. I cannot get enough Avo Smash and toasted sourdough. All I need now is to find someone who wants to come for a hipster breakfast with me. If you have any questions or want to say hi, please email me, getfitguy@quickanddirtytips.com. Get Fit Guy is a Quick and Dirty Tips podcast. Thank you to Morgan Christensen, Holly Hutchins, Brandon Getchis, Davina Tomlin. If you have a question, voicemail me, 510-353-3104. Email me, getfitguy@quickanddirtytips.com. For more information, visit quickanddirtytips.com or check out the show notes in the podcast app. Bye-bye.